image editing with Pixlr resources. So that's what I'm going to go through today. And that's why I'm recording this so that we can go back in it, okay? Now, I'm working on the assumption, guys, that you know very little about images. Some of you may be really familiar with them, with software, manipulating images and so forth. But we'll just go through this and we'll see how we get out of it. In web development, we normally have to have at least some skills for modifying and editing images, be it that we take photographs and we need to clean. Now, this isn't going to bring you to the level of being a professional graphics artist. So if that's what you're thinking of doing, you need a different course for it. But it will allow us to at least be able to do something to stock images that we get, or our own pictures that we take, to make them look half reasonable when we put them onto a website. So that's sort of the idea here. We're going to use an application called Pixlr.com. Pixlr.com, it's an online, so you can just go online and go into Pixlr.com. Now you need to log in, sign in with them. So I'll let you just do that. It's probably as handy, guys, to be doing this as we're going on through it, because it's a lot of this stuff you have to try it yourself. I've put in them resources. I've put up 2 photographs that I took during the summer out in Carlingford Lough, and we were actually going to see the lighthouse being all done blue, but my photography and the lighting wasn't great today. We were there, but any picture you like, you can use for editing and going on. There's 2 versions of Pixlr, Pixlr X and Pixlr E. We're going to go through the Pixlr E one because it's an actual editor and there's a lot more information available with it. Okay. Get back into the document down here. So in terms of editing, actually Photoshop is still kind of the Rolls Royce of editing. It's used by professional people and so forth. It's very expensive. We don't have it. You don't have it. So we might as well use something that everybody can use. So this Pixlr.com. So what we're looking at here is Pixlr. As I say, it's online. It's free. It's good. Okay. There are differences between Pixlr E and Pixlr X, and there's a wee link there if you want to go and look at the differences. But essentially, Pixlr E is the one that I would recommend us to use. This when you get, I've logged in here, see your name on it. You'll get you will get ads showing up in this, guys. And if you want to pay a load of money every month to get rid of the ads, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm not, right? So I've put 2 images up there on that folder or that download. If you want to use them, grand. Okay. Now we're going to be modifying images, so it's always a good idea to work off a copy. Okay. So if you've spent a lot of time getting a photograph that's just perfect, and then you start modifying it with your editor, you could go a bit crazy, and you want to get back to the original again. So always keep a copy, right? So couple of things. There's a lot of terms we're going to be throwing out here, and for some of you, you'll understand the terms really easy, or you're aware of them already. For others, it might be a bit more difficult. So what I suggest is just go and have a good read of them. Get onto Google, see what's going on behind them, and so forth. There's lots and lots of help, how to, different tutorials for Pixlr and for all of the image editing software across the whole range of applications. So there's no excuse there. Plenty of stuff there for it. But a couple of general terms, right? We're probably should be hopefully familiar with the idea of an artist actually painting a painting, okay? And they typically start off with a piece of material called a canvas. And on that canvas, then they will then slowly build up their image. So the picture they're painting, and they'll actually build it up in layers, okay? The sort of the same kind of theory kind of works through with editing software. There is a canvas, and then we have an image. So you'll have a canvas size and you'll have an image size. Most times they're the same, okay? But you will see that there's the ability to change the size of the canvas and change the size of the image, and both of them work differently, okay? If you change the size of the image, we have to remember, well, there's a thing called aspect ratio that we spoke about before. So that's the ratio between the width and the height. If you change the size of an image and keep that aspect ratio constant, then you won't get what we call distortion. However, if you change the ratio, so you might change the width, but you don't change the height, or the other way around, you will actually distort the image and it won't be as true as it was. So you can make somebody who's very thin look extremely fat by compressing it down. Likewise, make somebody look extremely thin by expanding it up. Okay, so this stretching stuff out can bring elasticity into the image as well. So these are important considerations when we're modifying images. Now, if we change the canvas, okay. So as I was saying, you've got the canvas, which is what the painter paints on, and then you've got the actual picture or the image that's on there. There's differences if you change the canvas. If you make the canvas bigger, it doesn't make it any issue. But if you make the canvas shorter or smaller, it'll actually lose some of the overall image that you can view. So just bear that in mind. Okay. Now, there's loads of different file types. There's a link there all about images that you can go to. Different file types of different properties, and we'll discuss some of them at some point. Okay. Now, another thing, right, is, and it's just to get some of these basics out of the way. At the point of display, in terms of a computer, what has to happen is we have to be able to provide enough information for the actual graphics card to provide individual points of light, which are called pixels. And for the most part, in terms of displaying on a display on a monitor, we use RGB, which is red, green, and blue. Okay. Now, if you're say like printing something, it's a different process. So the CMYK, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black color schemes are used because you're mixing colors. There's a difference between reflectance and projections that we see there. Okay. Typically, there's two main categories of images. There's what we call bitmap or bitmap related images, and then there's what we call vector images. So a bitmap is actually made up of individual points. Okay. Now, what we will find is that sometimes when we compress images, what will actually happen, let's say we had 10 points that are exactly the same color. We're all kind of red. So we could store information in a file that had information for each pixel, red, 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 red. Or we could, if you like, abbreviate that somehow and say, right, it's red and so are the next 10 pixels. Okay, so that would take up less storage. So something like JPEG actually uses a compression algorithm, which will actually take the individual spots of light, their color, and combine it into a smaller file size. We need smaller file sizes when we're talking about, particularly with the web. We want to be able to load a website very quickly. If we have to download a big file, then it's going to be difficult. Typically, because we've got 3 bytes of data for each pixel, if you've got 1,000 pixels, then that's going to be 3,000 bytes. Okay, if you've got a megapixel, that's 3 megabytes. Okay, there's a little bit extra thrown in there for headers and that, but roughly it's around about that ratio. That would take a lot of time to download, particularly if you're on your mobile if you've got bad coverage. Okay, so we need to, as web developers, develop images that are nice and compact in terms of size, but that look good as well, because the viewer of our website is going to take the image as being a reflectance on the quality of what we're doing or product we're selling or so forth. Okay, now vector images are different. What a vector image does is it actually, rather than saying what each of the points of light actually, what their color value is, what it actually does is it uses geometric shapes and coloring information. So if you had like a big red square in the middle of a image, a vector image would just say red square, this is where it starts, this is where it finishes, and this is its fill color, and that would be it. Okay, if you had a triangle, it would describe a triangle in the same things, a circle the same way, an ellipse the same way. Okay, so for certain types of things, particularly like logos, etc., it's actually much more efficient to use vector to determine the or to actually build up your image as such. Okay, so there are two main ways of doing it. When we're looking at image editing and that, we're looking primarily at bitmap type of changes. Okay. Now, images, the same way as a painter, will have layers. The difference is, like with an artist, what they will do is they'll paint different layers. Or if you're painting around the house, you put the primer on, and then you put the undercoat on, and then you put the gloss on. With an artist, they've got the different layers that they build up. With us, in computer graphics, what we can actually do is we can do the same thing, but we have the added ability that we can actually move the layers and move their order. Okay, and we can delete a layer, so it's really handy. We can bring a layer to the front or bring it to the back, so that it would overwrite something. So if we had a big red square as the background, as a background layer, and then we had other images on top of it, we'd see all those images. But then if we got the background and pushed it out to the front, we'd just see a red square. So there's nice stuff there. Now, the whole area of compression is where we use algorithms to make the files smaller. There's a link there, different types at, and you've got a link there that you can follow to get more details on that. It goes through compression. It's got a thing called lossy and lossless file formats. Lossy to a certain extent means that the quality has been reduced somewhat. Lossless means it hasn't. Okay, and you'll also see that a lot of those algorithm techniques are used also for audio. So that's the same kind of thing works there. Okay, now we're going to get into practical work. So hopefully at this stage everybody has been able to log in. Okay, I've given you two photographs in that. One is greenor1.jpg, which is a little picture of Finn the dolphin just at the ferry port there in Greenor. And the other is actually taken from the ferry, where we've got a buoy in the sea, buoy number 14. Okay, for those that are interested. So we're going to just use them. This is just pictures that we can play around with, okay, as a means of discussion. For you yourselves, you can actually work through whatever image you like, okay? So what we have here in terms of practical work, when you open up the image the first time up, it will probably, particularly if you've just taken with a camera and it's got a very large file size, it'll ask you which one do you want. Okay, you can see here that the ultra high HD is max width of 3,800 pixels. The full HD is 1920. And then the web max is 1280. So you could pick whatever you like. You could put a new size in there if you wanted it. So if you were, for example, importing a photograph and you knew you wanted to have it 600 pixels wide, you could just put 600 pixels into the left box there. And it normally is width by height. You just click apply. You'll then get something that looks a little bit like that. So if I go back to my one here, it loads up. It'll show you the history, what you have when you're logged in as well. And you get a screen, something like this. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through some of the controls and try different things. Okay, so you can see the dolphin just there in the middle. Okay, so we see something like this. Okay, so we've got the pillars here on the side, the dolphin, a couple of people on the shoreline. Okay, and a buoy there. There's other buoys going out for those that are familiar with Carlingford Lough. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just actually using the wheel on my mouse, and I can zoom in and zoom out. Okay. If you don't have a wheel on your mouse, you can click the zoom button down here, and nearly every time you click something here, you're going to get an add up. You can then just click. Okay, and I think it's shift click down to. So if you use the shift key, it'll make it smaller. If you just use the ordinary key without shift, it'll make it bigger. Okay, but as I say, the wheel on your mouse goes around and around, as to say. Okay, now the working around the desktop, you've got menus there on the very top. Okay, so back in here, you've got your file menu, and a lot of these are going to be very familiar. If you want to create a new image, you can create a new file. And it'll bring you through a particular dialog. So you've got different templates here. This is what we're using, the full HD. But you've got web small, icon. So we want to make an icon and so forth. Okay, so we've got a couple of templates there that are kind of cool to use. Okay. Back to the editor here. You can open an image URL. There's stock search, so you can actually search through stuff here. So you want to go, guess it's okay to look at Christmas trees. This is after Halloween. We could get different, that's just trees, is it? Must be. So you get different icon or pictures of trees that you can take. Some of them I think are free. Some of them you probably have to pay for. So obviously you won't do that. You can browse elements, save, print, or close. So that's your normal file. Edit, paste, free transform, free distort, transform here, which allow you to rotate clockwise, anti-clockwise, flip horizontal and flip vertical, which can be useful things, particularly if you sometimes take a picture on your smartphone or that, it might be upside down when you bring it in, so you flip it around. You've also got preferences here that you can set up some of your standard preferences that you want. Okay. So that's the file there. You'll have this undo, redo, cut, copy, and clear. I'll also point you to down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the history area. And as you make changes, so if I just do some work here with a pen, you'll see the pen strokes, well, I should make it a bit bigger. So as I write pens in here, you'll see the pens increasing here. If I want to get rid of them, I could just go back here and click on open, and it undoes them all. So you can undo one at a time or just get rid of a few. Okay. Image then, there's image size, which will bring you up to here. So again, I can change if I go to change the image size here, I'll make it 680. If this constraint proportions is set, it will automatically modify the height then to using the same aspect ratio. If you haven't, you can change it differently. We'll do that in a second. So I can apply that and it makes it all smaller. Okay. I could, of course, go in here and go in image size and not constrain it and make that, say, 1,000. I make this here 200. Okay, and apply it. And you get it distorted. See the way the pillars now are very, very small and stumpy. Still, you could say, yeah, with the exception of the people here, you could probably say it just looks as though the tide's in kind of thing, but it is significantly different. Okay. Canvas then on the other side. Remember, canvas is what the painting is held on. Okay. So you've got your width here. I'm going to just change this down to 1,000 and leave the height as it is, because it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the ratio. It's just going to affect how much of the picture we lose if we make it smaller. Okay. You have your anchor point here. So if I click, let me click the bottom lower corner here. When I change this size, right, I'm going to lose a good bit of the width. Okay. So this bottom area, bottom right-hand corner here, I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to start losing stuff over on the left-hand side. Okay. So we see here now we've lost most of the pillars. We just have a wee bit here. Okay. So again, click on history, I can bring it back. So that's kind of the difference with history. If I want to do that again, I can resize it. Now I can click on the hand here, which allows me to pan. And this is still available to pan in an up and down direction. But I can't move it left and right. So I've actually lost it. You'll see over here, there's kind of like a square orange box around it. It's kind of telling me where the image is going to be in terms of the bigger diagram as such. Okay. Just undo that. You can image rotate, so these are fairly straightforward if you want to straighten up or flip images. Flipping is kind of good, as I say, if you want to flip vertical or something like that, you have it upside down. Okay. There's loads of stuff here on layers, right? And we'll find out about these. You can create a new layer, duplicate a layer. If I create a layer, over here on the right-hand side is the layers area. We see our background here. So I can actually go with a new layer, create a new layer. You see it here. I can click on it. Click on the three buttons here. I can give it a name, text. We can set up whether it's locked or unlocked. If it's locked, it means you can't change it. And I'll click in here and do unlocked. It means I can change it. If I click on that, if I type now, right? So if I just bring in text here, it's going to automatically bring a new text there. So I just put Peter's text there. So now I've got three layers now. The background, Peter's this one here, and I'm just going to get my pen out and some squiggles on it there. Okay, I go back into Peter's text here. If I select the text tool again, I can then select this. And if I wanted to, I could change the color. By going in here, sorry, I'll change to yellow. Okay, so I've got three things there now. I can turn off any of these, right? So if I click the wee box here on the right-hand side where the tick marks is. Okay, so there are three independent layers. And I can have whichever ones I want to have on them. Okay, in here I can move the stuff around as much as I like. So you're able to independently go in and change stuff, which is kind of cool. Okay, if I want to, I can just go in here and then bin it. I can delete it. I can also merge down, merge visible, merge and visible. Well, we'll do a wee thing in this later on. You're combining images together. I'm just going to delete the two of these. Which again, it's just a different way of. You'll normally find there's multiple ways of doing the same thing. Okay, so that's your layer, duplicate layer. Obviously, composite. You can add an image as a layer, add an element as a layer, add a URL as a layer, delete a layer, raster text element again. Do a bit of Google on that. Merge down, merge visible, flatten image. Flatten image is at the very end. What we're going to do when we've got our image the way we want it for the web, we need to flatten it because the file formats like JPEG and so forth, they only support one layer. They don't have multi-layer capability. So what we actually do is we'll actually flatten the image. But you need to make sure you've saved the image as a project beforehand using the Pixlr file format, which is PXD, and that flattens it, or that allows you to keep all the layers so you can go back in and edit it. If you flatten it and save it, you can never go back and edit it. Okay. So that's layers. Bring forward, up and down. Oh, I meant to do that. So if I add text. Okay, so that's my text there, right? If I get this text, grab it and move it down, it now means the background is in the front. And I can't see that text, but it's still there. The layer is still there. I can move it back up. It's just that I can't see it. Okay. So just bear that in mind. You can have fun with these. Okay. Now there's masks. There's a link at the bottom about masks, which are really interesting because you can put shapes together and maybe reuse them and that kind of stuff. So select then adjustment. We'll go through a lot of stuff, but these are kind of finesse adjustments where you can actually change things like brightness and contrast. Okay. So it can have a total effect on the whole image as such. Okay. And you've got a reset somewhere. We hold down. You compare the two. Okay. So I'll just cancel out of that. So you've got all these different adjustments, temperature and tint. So as you increase the temperature, tends to make things warmer, make it colder. Tint then nice kind of green, purple kind of movement on it. Okay, so again, these can affect how people will view an image. Hue and saturation, high hue, high saturation, low lightness will give you darkness. Okay, so adjustments there. Again, what you do, vibrancy will do make things more bright, vibrant, kind of brighten them up to a certain extent. You've got color balance, color lookup, highlights and shadows, exposure, curves, levels. All of these, just have fun with them, right? Details, you can blur, you can do Gaussian blurs, put the amount that you want on it. You see it's getting blurred there and I can't see. So there's all of these filters that you can put in. I don't know what bloom is. A lot of these are, oh yeah, it brightens it up kind of nicely to an extent. Inner glow, outer glow, you can put bevels on it. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can obviously. Halftones, fine edges, and so forth. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do there. Okay. So again, it's really a case of having fun with these and working your way through them. Okay. Now the left-hand side, you see the palette of tools, and that's what you're probably going to use most of the time. Okay. That's certainly the high speed access to it. Now, when you click a specific tool, the top area will change to provide more tool-specific options. So if we look around here, if we click on, say, the lasso, we get a list here of different things that we can do. If we click on the repair, we've got different things we can do. Click on the erase, we click on fill, we've got different things we can do. Okay, so it's all a case really of trying to figure out what each of them actually do, right? And again, trial and error, guys, is the best way. What I've done here is I just want to. Okay, this is we've covered this already. This is for deleting stuff and so forth. You can use the history, and you've got your layers here for the background, and you've also got positional information here. Okay, you can zoom in and out as well. Now, so getting started. That's the canvas. We've looked at this. Layers. We've kind of looked at it. So the layer mask is a bit tricky, but there's a good introduction there to online tutorial on masks that is worth looking at. Okay, so you've got the PXD format, but you can save then as, so when you make your changes, you can go file, you can save it then as whatever different type you want to save it as. If you take something like JPEG, you can adjust the quality. Medium quality is about 70%, low quality is about 50%. And that's all to do with the compression rate on it, okay? Give it a file name and so forth. The information is all there then, okay? So these are all the tools, and what I've done here, I'm not going to run through this myself. You can work on this yourselves. Is I've given you what the picture of the tool. If you hover over it, it'll give you a hint as to what it does. And just some things for you to try doing. When you get it initially, it's locked, so you need to unlock it. And there's also duplicates. So if you want to, if you load up an original, it's really telling you don't really work with the original, work with a copy. Select marquee or marquee selection. There's a number of different ways of selecting marquees, right? There's lasso select. Sometimes you'll want to select just a square, sometimes it's a circle, other times you'll want to kind of have, there's like magic. These are kind of cool ones here, guys. If you want to say select, if I wanted to select that pillar, it's easy enough. I can just go to the rectangle here and I can, let's say, select it. Here, right? Now I can copy that and just do Control C and copy it. And I could paste it here then. And then move it select it and then move it. So if I wanted to try touching up, that'd be one way you could possibly try touching it up. And you'll see that what it's done there is it's actually created a new layer. Okay, so I can get rid of that by moving the layer down and you won't see it. Okay. It's important when you're selecting stuff as well to realize you could only select stuff on the layer that you're actually on. Okay, so for example, if I'm on this image layer and I want to select this boy here and I copy it, and if I do control, well, if I try to copy it, it says nothing in selection because all that file or that part of the layer has nothing in it. It's blank. This kind of checkerboard there of gray and black is telling you that it's transparent. Okay, there's nothing there. Let's see what else we have here. So as I said, try, for lasso then is great, okay, because this is a different one. And with the lasso, you've got a couple. You've got freehand, you've polygon, you've got Bezier, and you've got magnetic, okay? So the magnetic one, if we click on it, it allows you to just click and it tries to stick to the same color. You'll see there's a stuff. I'm not very good at this, okay, but it kind of works around like that. That's one method of doing it, right? Another way of doing it is to use a polygon, and it's giving you basically the shapes. I can use the Bezier, which is again taking the shapes here, and you can bend the shape. Okay, you've got different modes here: add to selection and remove from selection. So you can do shift and add, and so forth. Okay. So again, it's all about trying these different things. Now, if I'd done Control C on that, and then done Control V to paste it, it hasn't really shown up. Yeah, no, I didn't actually select that in there. So what you need is new selection. Oops. I can hold down Shift. Copy it, and then it actually paid it. So that's what I've copied across. Okay. So it's really a case of trying that, and put rather than just playing around with the guys, try and pick a target and say, right, I want to do that. Have a look at the one selection is a good one, okay? Because what the one selection does is it lets you background. Oops. So the one that's there. So it's selected everyone with the same color. Okay. The other one here, which is the crop, which trims, cut, and straighten the canvas by free or fixed aspects. So again, you can do it here freehand. You can use ratio, use size, you can reset, you can apply it, all that kind of good stuff there. Cutout mask, it's a handy one as well. You'll see in it as well, there's 3 buttons here at the end. There's some extra features there. You can invert masks and extract as masks and that. So you might try removing one of the pillars. It would be an interesting one to try. Liquidify, kind of, it kind of moves part of the image. Probably the best way to look at that is here. So I can. So if there's something like say smudge, I can kind of smudge the thing there, kind of throwing a line through it. You can try sharpening stuff. Maybe not the best image to do it, but you can change your brush size as well. So I can change the size, you can change the softness as well. You can change the shape. So back to smudge here is the one that you can really drag it. So you kind of, it's like you kind of smudging the actual paint and while the paint's still wet kind of thing. Okay. Ah, sure. So liquify is a good one there for that. Heal then helps you kind of touch up, and again the size. What it tries to do is to match a spot with the colors that are around it. Okay, so it's a bit of touch up. Clone allows you to copy a pattern and replicate it around the place, so you can create another pillar, that type of thing. Blur, sharpen, and smudge, very similar to what we were looking at there with the liquify. Okay, so you might want to say, for Finn the dolphin, blur his face out for GDPR. But if you had, like, say, for example, a picture with a car in it, you might want to blur out the car registration number, or if you had people in it, you'd blur their faces so they can't be recognized or whatever. Dodge and burn then are great as well because they can lighten or darken an area, right? So like if we take the image of just by 14 open it. Okay, the images are in the that what you download from Moodle. Someone's asked the question there. So what we're looking at here now is I'm just going to zoom this up, and I can use pan then to centralize the picture here. So what I want to do is I want to make that 14 stand out well. Okay. So what we're saying here is to open the image and lighten the number 14. So we're going to use this dodge burn. So I can go to the dodge burn here, go to lighten, we'll click on highlights. I'm going to get my brush. I can change the brush into a square. It's a little bit big, but we'll just click on that. You see the way it's brightened up there. Okay. See that? Click, brighten it up. I could try brightening up the bottom here as well. Okay, you can see there's different effects there. So that could be something like, say, if you were using if you had a picture of people and you wanted, you could blur out people's faces, and then you could use this to brighten up somebody's face so that when you look at it, you immediately look at that one person and you can see them or whatever. So it highlights different pieces, which is a useful one to do. Sponge color can again increase and decrease the color. There's some interesting articles there, so you can have a look at the nameplate 14 and make it more vibrant as such. So again, we can get into it there. And when here, increase vibrancy, so just click on it, and it gives the color a little bit more of a depth to it, I suppose would be the way you'd look at it. You've got a pen, so you've got loads of different pens, some cool effects that you can have with them. Look at stretchy ones here, and yeah, size right there. So you can, as you turn around, it'll actually add things to it. You can look at, say, a crayon, and it makes it look it's a crayon you're using rather than an actual pen. Furry is a cool one as well, kind of like hairs growing off the side. So you can get interesting effects with these things. Okay, some of them are kind of a bit might use them or not. Draw then lets you do much the same, but with limited different brushes on opacity. You can play around. Remember, opacity is what we call see-throughness. Something that is 100% opaque means you can't see through it. Something that is zero opacity means you can. So a piece of paper, thick piece of paper would be 100% opacity, and a piece of cling film would be zero. So that see-throughness that you can put on it can reduce the effect of a line. So rather than having a thick, heavy line going across the page, it's kind of lighter as such. Okay. There's an eraser there to rub out stuff we want to do it. Color replacement. So we've got down the color replacement, and just to be aware of this, down at the bottom here, you've got two colors. You can click on either of them. One is what we call the foreground color. We'll just make that a yellowy kind of color. You can put in the RGB values here if you want to, either in hex or in decimal. And actually, it's a good idea. This, guys, just as a tip here, right? The second one down, I'll make it a darker color. Maybe a dark blue or something. Okay, so I can, if I have the pen now, and I want to draw, it'll draw that yellow color. I can just click here to switch colors, and now it'll draw the blue color. Okay, and click back. Okay, there's another one here, which is the picker. Okay, and that allows you to pick a color. So you can actually click on it and pick it. See the way it's changed on the bottom color now. So if you, for example, wanted to say, I'd like that color as part of my background on my web page, but I don't actually know what color it actually is, you can click in here, and you'll see here on the bottom here, you'll have the hex code for it. So you can actually put that code in. Say, for example, you were doing a website for, say, Coca-Cola. You'd have to use the exact red that Coca-Cola use. Okay, so what you could do is you could have a photograph of a Coca-Cola can, for example, and you could highlight it with the picker, click on it, find out what the actual code is, and then use that code. Okay, so it's a handy little thing to have there. Okay, there's a fill. Fill allows you to fill it. Fill one as well. Look at gradient here. You can select a gradient, click on one end, and you can pick whatever color or the type of gradient you want. So we take kind of a rainbowy color. Click over here, click there, and say what we would like. Let's take it from red, like that, and then over here, then we might have that as some kind of a green color there. So you can click on the bottom, okay, which is kind of nice. So now I can add a gradient, and what it will do is it'll just take the color the whole way down, left to right, okay. Now I can undo that. I can change the opacity then, bring the opacity kind of down low, and again try this again, and we'll see there's just a hint of a rainbow coming through there. You'll probably see it more if I zoom out here. Okay, so it kind of gives you a bit of a rainbow effect coming in here. You could do that whatever way you like. You can take it off screen as well just to produce things. You can increase the opacity of it. I would have a totally different effect. So again, there are nice little things that you can do, and kind of play around with these things. That's the gradient. You have shapes. You can put in different shapes, and there's different fill options as well, and fill colors. So again, look at it. Putting in text. The picker we've looked at. Zoom we've looked at. Hand pan we've looked at. And foreground colors we've looked at. Okay. You can get more details on these if you click that link. There's a website there that goes through a lot more details, and there it is coming up now. On the toolbar. So it also gives you the shortcuts, but you'll see the shortcuts in that document as well. Wherever there is one shortcut, spacebar, okay, shortcut Z. Right, now, any questions on that so far? Everybody happy enough? Okay. What I'd like us to do is to do this one here. I'm just going to click to this website. I thought it was very kind of cool, and it gives you a nice step-by-step yourself to actually fit into it. What they've done here, you've got a bird here that seems to have a cat's head on it, okay, and another bird trying to feed it, okay. So obviously a mammy bird and a baby bird, except it's a cat. So looks really cool. I need you to be able to do the same thing. You've got the 2 images here that you can download and use, and it gives you step-by-step working through it. Okay. So I shall leave you with that. I'm here if there's any questions. Okay. We can sort them out. I'll just stop the recording here.